Your cars, your clothes, almost everything you own. Tariffs may soon affect you, but a Senate vote could stand in the way. Details on a big statement from Republican leaders just ahead. Plus, food, fun, and festivities just around the corner. Buck Days begins tomorrow, but some neighbors have safety on their minds.
Anybody that's going in should be inspected for a weapon.
And what's going on for day one of the carnival? Events, parking details, and much more still ahead. Chris 6 News starts now. And we thank you for joining us. I'm Andy Lascano. We continue to be on water watch as city officials warn that the current drought, listen to this, the current drought could be even worse than the one we experienced in 2011. Water inflows have dropped to record lows, and the experts say this could be a wake-up call. At the April 15th City Council meeting, the CEO of Corpus Christi Water, Drew Molly, said the recharge rate at Choke Canyon is now lower than it was during the 2011 drought, and it could mark a drought of record. The city's relying on groundwater and the Mary Roads pipeline to get by until desalination arrives, but the experts are saying 2011 should have been a lesson.
To think about how vulnerable we can be, that we cannot, we need to be able to project our water resources every time we commit to new users. We need to know where we are.
Well, Ms. Margulet also told Chris 6 that this drought is already worse than 2011 because it's lasting longer with even less inflow, and it's exposing the region's water system as more fragile than many thought originally. Another prime example of our water situation can be found in our lake levels, which continue to go down, putting an emphasis on finding long-term solutions to the water crisis. Lake Corpus Christi, for instance, had a recent surge, but it's since dipped back down. It's at 21.1% capacity. Today it was 21.8 last week. Choke Canyon Reservoir also decreasing, its levels at 14.6%. Lake Texana dropped to 75.7%. That's a 0.5% down from last week. We'll get it right. And our lake levels are always a good segue into our weather, where we await the rain for some relief from this water crisis. Meteorologist Julia Quady standing by now. So the question is, could the weekend bring us some moisture that we're desperate need of?
Yes, well, thankfully we already have moisture in place because it's hot and humid right now. Now we do have a frontal boundary that's going to give us the trigger point where we can get some shower activity coming in the forecast this weekend. But to be quite honest, the rain event that we're probably going to see is going to continue to have this whiplash effect where we start to see some improvement in our lake levels ever so slightly. But then because we start to see another dry period come back in the forecast, we're just going to see our numbers kind of go up and down and not really see true improvement potentially even from this rain event coming this upcoming weekend. Right now, though, things are still a bit of a repeat of a weather pattern right now. Still looking at windy conditions and humidity at play as we take a look at our Snoopy's Pier Sky Cam sponsored by CCAC. We can see a lot of that lasting cloud cover from this morning. Still going to be in our skies for us this afternoon, but a little bit more of a decrease of that cloud cover, allowing for that sunshine that we saw in our area this afternoon. Temperatures were definitely on the rise for us, reaching towards the upper 80s or even towards the upper 90s for inland neighborhoods. Feel like temperatures way and well into the 90s across more of our neighborhoods here in the coastal bend as well. Winds are still coming from the southeast, giving us, of course, all that moisture that's currently at play, but more details in your full forecast coming up.
And we'll look forward to that as always. Thanks, Julia. President Trump held a cabinet meeting today to recap the first 100 days of his second term. Meeting took place at the White House, with the president listing some highlights of his first few months in office. He referenced Border Patrol, the ongoing tariffs, and the trade war with China.
But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. The chip market from
well, those tariffs on China are currently at 145%. Now, the tariffs are another calling card of this administration, but many senators, including Republicans, are pushing back on President Trump's agenda. So the Senate could vote as early as today on a resolution that would effectively block some of the president's tariffs. The resolution is co-sponsored by Republican Senator Rand Paul, who predicts enough of his fellow Republicans will vote with Democrats for the resolution to pass. It has almost no chance in the House, and even if it passed in Congress, the president would veto it. However, The resolution shows that some Republicans are not in unison on Mr. Trump's tariffs. Well, there is good news to report about the tariffs. The president announced yesterday that his newest executive order would allow reimbursements for domestic car producers importing car parts. Cars containing a combined 85% of parts that comply with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement and produced domestically effectively won't face any tariffs. The plan, according to the White House officials, is for tariffs to be phased out over time as foreign automakers move more manufacturing to this country. Well, tariffs are also expected to affect you from head to toe. The officials at Adidas, they're saying that hats and shoes are expected to cost more as a result of the White House's policies. The company's CEO released a statement saying the uncertainty over the U.S. tariffs could threaten their outlook for the rest of the year, despite a strong first quarter this year already. Adidas manufactures and outsources many products in countries like China, Vietnam, and India. So these tariffs bring uncertainty. New economic indicators are being released that keep an eye on how much people are spending versus saving. Scripps News Group's Alex Miller has more on what this new data means for you.
The U.S. economy shrinking. America's GDP declined 0.3% in the first quarter of the year, down from 2.4% growth to end last year, and the first drop since Q1 of 2022. The decrease sparked mostly by a surge in imports as American companies worked to stock up on foreign goods ahead of President Trump's tariffs. A separate economic report showing inflation cooling. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, a measure of inflation, up 2.3% in March from a year ago, and consumer spending up 0.7% from February. More granular data shows an economy that's still strong, says Professor of Business Economics and Public Policy Phil Powell.
When we look at the fundamentals of the economy, we look at household spending and we look at investment. Both of those grew in the first quarter. So that means the economic fundamentals are strong.
Some companies are echoing that, still seeing strong consumer spending. Ford CEO Jim Farley.
We're seeing double-digit sales increases since March and April. There may be a lot of customers going out and buying cars, before what they fear is the imports increasing prices. That may be a dynamic.
Some investors are worried about a possible recession, but Powell says it's too early to predict that.
We really need to look at the second quarter numbers before we know if a recession is coming.
Alex Miller, Scripps News Group, New York.
Another measure of the economy, employment. Recent data suggests that job seekers across the country have had fewer options over the past few weeks. In fact, according to the ADP National Employment Report, private sector businesses added 62,000 jobs in April. That's a sharp drop from the 147,000 that were added in March and much less than what many analysts had expected. Among the areas that experienced layoffs, education and health services, information and professional and business services.
Safety remains top of mind ahead of the Buck Days Carnival. I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter in the Bay Area, talking with people about their concerns.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
As we approach the first day of the Buck Days Carnival, crews continue setting up rides. I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter in the Bay Area. For decades, thousands have attended this carnival. I talked with some planning to go this year about safety. Maria Awas recalls her memories of the Buck Days Carnival from her high school days.
And we used to come here all the time for Buck Days because it was such a great event.
That, she says, was in the 1980s. Now, she's thinking about taking her grandson.
Yeah, we thought we'd like to introduce him to it. He's a little older, a little easier to handle, and the games and the rides will be a lot of fun for him.
But one thing top of mind for Maria is safety.
Parents to make sure and talk to the kids before and let them know, hey, it's not just you there, it's a lot of other people and even smaller kids, so you need to take everybody else's safety into considerations.
Brenda Cantu also shares a concern for safety.
What is in your bag that you don't want people to see?
Brenda's big concern is weapons. I reached out to the Buck Days Commission to ask what safety measures are in place to help keep people like Brenda and Maria safe. The commission told me they were unable to talk Tuesday. So I looked on the commission's website and found a list of items banned from the carnival, like pepper spray, fireworks, selfie sticks, and knives.
There's no need for knives, there's no need for guns, there's no need for any type of sharp objects or anything that could be harmful to other people.
Anybody that's going in should be inspected for a weapon, especially under a shirt or jacket or something like that.
The commission points out a clear bag policy for any bags larger than a clutch. The Buck Days Carnival opens Thursday, May 1st. It closes May 11th. With your neighborhood news in the Bay Area, I'm Michaela Chavez, Chris 6 News.
All right, Michaela, thanks for that report. Now remember, the fun begins tomorrow and lasts 10 days, and it all starts with the first robotics challenge on the second floor of the American Bank Center. At 4 in the afternoon, the shops at Treasure Island will open, and when an hour after that is when the party really begins with the 5 o'clock traditional dunking of the mayor. And then the Clear Tones play at the Buckin Marlin stage, followed by the group Imagen, I hope I pronounced that right, Imagen, at 7:45. It's a complete list of events. It's on our website, christv.com. Now, Buck Days is sure to be a good time, right? Just be ready to plan your route to get to the fun. There's some streets and closures around the carnival site, and traffic can get heavy at times, as we all know who have been there. So you can avoid the hassle by using the RTA's Park and Ride shuttle. It'll pick you up at Whataburger Field, drop you off at the gate. The shuttle is free, but if you're going to park at Whataburger Field, be ready to spend $15. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at your evening traffic report with Julia Quady. Hello there.
Hey, Andy, and now we're taking a live look outside, taking a look at our SPID Skycam. We can see traffic flow is on the lighter side for us this evening. Things not really getting quite heavy just quite yet. But let's go and take a look at those traffic flow maps to get a better idea we can expect for your commute if you're in fact heading out the door right now. Right now, taking a look heading from Portland over to the Harbor Bridge in both directions, we can see things are moving pretty smoothly at this hour. Moving now towards downtown, things are looking pretty decent on Ocean Drive, just a little bit of medium speed that you might encounter throughout both directions. Same thing throughout portions of SPID. A little bit more heavier traffic flow happening throughout portions of Saratoga, so you may want to keep that in mind. Heading on over to Flower Bluff, a bit of the same action happening on Waldron Road and on Flower Bluff Drive, but all clear on the JFK Causeway. That's it for your traffic report. With details of your forecast coming up. Hey there, good afternoon. Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Julia Quady. Got that sunshine out there for us the remainder of our afternoon, heading towards our evening hours. Start out the day looking at mostly cloudy conditions, but those clouds begin to break apart later on this afternoon. Now we are expecting that cloud cover to increase, though, as we start to approach those evening hours. Right now, we can still see hints of that blue sky and that sunshine still out there for us this afternoon. Now, again, like I said, we did see some clouds that were a bit more active earlier this afternoon, but as you can see, passing on hour by hour throughout this afternoon, heading towards this point now at 5 o'clock. We can see things begin to break apart towards that cloud cover becoming a little bit more sparse and then clearing out, heading on over towards our coast. Right now, though, temperatures are still very much on the warmer side from earlier this afternoon, reaching towards the upper 80s or low 90s for inland neighborhoods. Things are starting to calm down a little bit, ever so slightly at this hour. Here in Corpus Christi, sitting at 84 degrees with a feel-like temperature at 90, 87 over in Robstown while it feels like 94. And over in Kingsville, you guys are barely getting a break over the past few hours, still sitting at 88 degrees for your air temperature, but still feeling like 98 right now at this moment. So again, things are still feeling very muggy, very humid, much like a weighted blanket because of our dew point values in terms of where they stand right now, getting towards an oppressive range into the 70s. So that explains why things are feeling so sticky and muggy for us in the forecast. And that weather pattern just continues to be on repeat for us throughout the beginning of this week and now heading towards the midweek and extending towards tomorrow as well. Looking at our hour by hour forecast, things will begin to decrease as it relates towards our temperatures, getting towards the upper 70s by 8 o'clock tonight. We'll also see a decrease in our wind speeds. Right now, still clocking nearby 25 miles an hour, but those will start to decrease towards the teens as we head towards around 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So a bit of a break of those faster wind speeds and less humid conditions, some way to speak, as we head towards the later hours tonight. Now looking at our feel like temperatures, things will still be technically on the warmer side, still feeling like the 80s even during our overnight hours tonight. But then as we head towards tomorrow afternoon, we'll be once again talking about those feel like temperatures still reaching towards the lower 90s, even heading towards the upper 90s once again for inland neighborhoods tomorrow. So today we were under that moderate zone for that heat risk for us across the coastal bend. Pretty much looking at a very similar picture for us tomorrow on your Thursday, still looking at a couple more smaller pockets of that moderate risk for heat danger, and then maybe going towards that minor risk to level 1 out of 4 for some northerly neighborhoods like in Refugio and Beeville. So again, things will still be technically dangerous, so you still want to make sure you're practicing heat safety even as we look ahead towards an improvement on that front for a majority of us being in that level 1 zone as it relates towards our heat risk looking ahead towards your Friday. But again, you still want to make sure you're practicing extra bit of safety. Now, I know for most folks the work day might be over, but maybe for some folks have to work a little bit late and you want to take another afternoon pick-me-up or maybe now evening pick-me-up. Here's for your iced coffee forecast. Of course, we had our high temperature around 86 degrees. As you can see, our temperatures haven't fallen too much just yet. We're still looking at most areas having their temperatures towards the upper 80s. Feel like temperatures still ranging towards the 90s at this hour. So still suitable, I think, to go out and head towards your local coffee shop and get a quick iced coffee break. Now, a couple showers are going to come into the forecast potentially throughout some neighborhoods later on tonight. 7, maybe 8, 9 o'clock tonight, passing through parts of Beeville, George West, and Orange Grove. Those showers won't hold on too strong. Again, we'll be looking at dry conditions coming back to the forecast later on tomorrow, and then that real rain chance for our forecast will be coming in later on the weekend.
Esports is taking over Texas A&M Kingsville. I'm Tyrese Moore, your neighborhood news reporter, speaking with local gamers about this phenomenon and the showdown on the sticks this weekend. Esports is one of the fastest growing sports in America, and Texas A&M Kingsville is hopping on the wagon. I'm Tyrese Moore, your Kingsville neighborhood news reporter, speaking with gamers here about the sport and the competition they're holding for neighbors.
It's like really fun to play.
Arturo Gallegos III is your typical gamer. As a college student at Texas A&M Kingsville, he tells me gaming helps him blow off some steam.
So I say it's a very much stress reliever because I typed a 3-page essay last night, and after I got done with it, I hopped right on the game.
Now, students like Gallegos can put their skills to the test. The university's esports program is hosting a tournament this weekend with a prize pool of $3,000.
Like for me, like I didn't even know that was a thing until now, until they told me, you're like, if you join this competition, you probably could be part of our varsity team.
It comes as esports continues to grow in popularity. I spoke with Steven Peterson, the director of A&M Kingsville's esports program, about this trend.
It is the second most viewed sport in America. NFL is number 1, and as of 2 years ago, esports is more viewed yearly than the NBA, which is 3rd.
This weekend's tournament will include games like Smash Bros, Mortal Kombat, and more. Hundreds are expected to attend.
It's a whole convention for people to come, bring the community together. You know, it's not just for students, it's for the public, it's for everybody to come and participate in something that is missing from this area as a whole, not just Kingsville, but South Texas.
If you're interested in putting your gaming skills to the test, the Spring Showdown will be held this weekend at Texas A&M Kingsville. In Kingsville, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tyrese Boone, Chris 6 News.
Thanks for that report. Officers from the Alice Police Department and the Jim Wells County Sheriff's Office are getting ready for the Special Olympics Texas Law Enforcement Torch Run, one of the biggest fundraisers for Special Olympics Texas. The run began in 1981. So the Alice and Jim Wells County leg of the run began in 2017. Officers run with Alice ISD's Special Olympics athletes.
Okay, we do the law enforcement tournaments all across the state of Texas. Every city, every department has it, and we contribute all the money that we raise to Special Olympics Texas to help out all the athletes.
So the law enforcement torch run is headed to Melissa, Texas. That's just north of Dallas, and it's where the 2025 Special Olympics Texas Summer Games will take place from May 1st through the 4th. We talk about dropping dimes. Are you looking for spare change? One Texas highway was covered in thousands of dollars in coins after a big wreck. We're going to talk about it when we come back. All right, so chances are if you go rummaging through your car or your couch cushions, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to find some spare change there, right? Well, drivers on a Texas highway came across some coins of their own yesterday, but it wasn't a few quarters or a couple of pennies. It was 8 million dimes. Here's what happened. A big rig crashed into North Texas, scattering the freshly minted coins across US 287. That's in Wise County. A driver and a passenger were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Street sweepers were used to collect the shiny new dimes on the road. DPS says about $80,000 worth of dimes were collected. Again, talk about dropping dimes. I'm sure a lot of people were out on the road scrambling, trying to pick up as many dimes as they could.
I would join them, yeah. That's a lot of dimes. Adds up fast.
The rest of the week looks pretty darn good for this wet stuff that we need. I'm looking at your graph over there. Yeah.
The 7 day, we can pop that up for people to see at home. We'll see warm and muggy conditions kind of still last out the remainder of our work week. So that weather pattern is going to stay on repeat for now. That frontal boundary is going to push on in, triggering our showers that will start to pass on through this weekend and kind of last in a bit of spotty fashion through portions of next week.
We'll look forward to that, and then we'll see you back here in 30 minutes from now with more news from your neighborhood on Chris 6 News at 6. See you then.